Canto 5, Chapter 5, text number 21 and 22. Two verses are there. Jai Shri Nitai Sachidanand Bhagavan Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhagavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so that's text number 21 and 22 together. Bhuteshu viruddhya udattamaye sarisprisha steshu sabodhanishthah tato manushyaha pramathastatopi gandharva siddha vibudhanugaye devasurebhyo magavat pradhana Dakshadyo Brahma Sutastu Tesham Bhava Pravaso Thavirincha Virya Samatparo Ham Dvija Deva Deva. It's a bit of a lengthy verse. We'll do one at a time. Bhuteshu Viruddhya Udattamaye Sarisripasteshu subodhanishthah Tato manushya pramathastatopi Gandharva siddha vibudhanu gaye Devasurebhyo magavat pradhana Dakshadayo Brahma Sutastu Tesham Bhava Pravaso Thavirincha Virya Samatparoham Dvija Deva Devaha Bhuteshu Viruddhya Udattamaye Sarispripasteshu subodhanishthah Tato manushyaha pramathastatopi Gandharva siddha vibudhanugaye Devasurebhyo magavat pradhana Dakshadayo Brahma Sutastu Tesham Bhava Pravasotha Virincha Viryah Samatparoham Dvija Deva Devah Bhuteshu Viruddhya Udattamaye Sarispripasteshu sabodhanishithah Tato manushyaha pramathastatopi Gandharva siddhaha vibudhanugaye Devasurebhyo magavat pradhana Dakshadayo Brahma Sutastu Tesham Bhava Pravaso Thavirincha Viryaha Samatparoham Dvija Deva Devaha Bhuteshu viruddhya uddattamaye Sarispripasteshu sabodhanishthah Tato manushya pramathastatopi Gandharva siddha vibuddhanugaye Devasurebhyo magavat pradhana Dakshadayo brahmasutastu tesham Bhava parah sotha virincha viryah Samad paroham dvijadeva devah. Word for word. Bhuteshu. Among things generated with and without symptoms of life. Virudbhyah. Than the plants. Udattamaha. Far superior. Ye. Those who. Sarisprihah. Moving entities like worms and snakes. Teshu. Of them. Sabodhanishthah. Those who have developed intelligence. Tataha. Then them. Manushyaha. The human beings. Pramattaha. The ghostly spirits. Tataha api. Better than them. Gandharva. The inhabitants of Gandharva Loka. Appointed singers in the planets of the demigods. Siddhaha. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka, who have all mystic powers. Vibudha Anugaha, the Kinnaras. Ye, those who. Deva, the demigod. Asurebhyaha, then the Asuras. Bhagavat Pradhanaha, headed by Indra. Dakshadayaha, beginning with Daksha. Brahmasutaha, the direct sons of Brahma. To, then, Tesham, of them, Bhavaha, Lord Shiva. Paraha, the best. Saha, he, Lord Shiva. Atha, moreover, Virincha Viryaha, producing from Lord Brahma. Saha, he, Brahma, Matparaha, my devotee. Aham, I, Dvijadeva Devaha, a worshipper of the Brahmanas or the Lord of the Brahmanas. Translation and purport by His Vanguard Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Of the two energies manifest, spirit and dull matter, beings, beings possessing living force, vegetable, grass, trees and plants, are superior to dull matter, stone, earth, etc. Superior to non-moving plants and vegetables are worms and snakes, which can move. Superior to worms and snakes are animals that have developed intelligence. Superior to animals are human beings, and superior to human beings are ghosts because they have no material bodies. Superior to ghosts are the Gandharvas, and superior to them are the Siddhas. Superior to the Siddhas are the Kinnaras, and superior to them are the Asuras. Superior to the Asuras are the demigods, and of the demigods, Indra, the king of heaven, is supreme. Superior to Indra are the direct sons of Lord Brahma, sons like King Daksha, and the supreme among Brahma's son is Lord Shiva. Since Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior. But Brahma is also subordinate to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because I am inclined to the Brahmanas are best of all. So this is Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text 21 and 22. Translation responsibly, please. Of the two living entities, or of the two living energies manifest, spirit and dull matter, beings possessing living force, vegetables, grass, trees, and plants, are superior to dull matter, stone, earth, etc. Superior to non-living plants and vegetables are worms and snakes, which can move. Superior to the worms and snakes are animals that have developed intelligence. Superior to animals are human beings, and superior to human beings are ghosts because they have no material bodies. Superior to ghosts are the Gandharvas, and superior to them are the Siddhas. Superior to the Siddhas are the Kinnaras, and superior to them are the Asuras. Superior to the Asuras are the demigods, and of the demigods, Indra, the king of heaven, is the supreme. Superior to Indra are the direct sons of Lord Brahma, sons like King Daksha, and the supreme among Brahma's sons is Lord Shiva. Since Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior. But Brahma is also subordinate to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because I am inclined to the Brahmanas are the best of all. Purport. In this verse, the Brahmanas are given a position superior to that of the Supreme Lord. The idea is that the government should be conducted under the guidance of the Brahmanas. Although Rishabdev recommended his eldest son Bharata as emperor of the earth, he still had to follow the instruction of the Brahmanas in order to govern the world perfectly. The Lord is worshipped as Brahmanya Deva. The Lord is very fond of devotees or Brahmanas. This does not refer to so-called caste Brahmanas, but to qualified Brahmanas. A Brahmana should be qualified with the 8 qualities mentioned in text 24, such as Shama, Dhamma, Satya, and Titiksha. The Brahmanas should always be worshipped, and under their guidance the ruler should discharge his duty and rule the citizens. Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, the executive is not selected by very intelligent people, nor is he guided by qualified Brahmanas. Consequently, chaos results. The mass of people should be educated in Krishna consciousness so that according to the democratic process, they can select a first-class devotee like Bharat Maharaj to head the government. If the head of the state is headed by the qualified Brahmanas, everything is completely perfect. In this verse, the evolutionary process is indirectly mentioned. The modern theory that life comes from matter is to some extent supported in this verse because it is stated Bhuteshu Viruddhya. That is, the living entities evolve from vegetables, grass, plants, and trees, which are superior to dull matter. In other words, matter also has the potency to manifest living entities in the forms of vegetables. In this sense, life comes out of matter, but matter also comes out of life. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattaha sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. There are 2 energies, material and spiritual, and both originally come from Krishna. Krishna is the supreme living being, although it may be said that in the material world a living force is generated from matter, it must be admitted that originally matter is generated from the supreme living being. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam. The conclusion is that everything, both material and spiritual, is generated from the supreme being. From the evolutionary point of view, perfection is reached when the living entity attains the platform of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is a worshipper of the Supreme Brahman, and the Supreme Brahman worships the Brahmana. In other words, the devotee is subordinate to the Supreme Lord, and the Lord is inclined to see to the satisfaction of his devotee. A Brahmana is called Dvijadeva, and the Lord is called Dvijadeva Deva. He is the Lord of the Brahmanas. The evolutionary process is also explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela chapter 19, where it is said that there are 2 types of living entities, moving and non-moving. Among moving entities are the birds, beasts, aquatics, human beings, and so on. Of these, the human beings are supposed to be the best, but they are few. Of the small number of human beings, there are many low-class human beings such as Malechas, Pulindas, Baudhas, and Shabaras. The human being elevated enough to accept the Vedic principles is superior. Among those who accept the Vedic principles, generally known as Varnashrama, presently known as the Hindu system, few actually follow the principles. Of those who actually follow the Vedic principles, most perform fruitive activities or pious activities for elevation to a high position. Manushyanam sahasreshu kashchit yatati siddhaye. Out of many attached to fruitive activity, one may be a jnani, that is, one philosophically inclined and superior to the karmis. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvatah. Out of many jnanis, one may be liberated from material bondage, and out of many millions of liberated jnanis, one may become a devotee of Krishna. Pretty loaded purport there. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So pretty nice purport here. It's got a lot of things. I've got some notes here. Just to give a recap of what's going on till this point. So these are the teachings of Lord Rishabdev. He's training his 100 sons because they are the princes and they are to, run the society, the country, the planet. So he, in the very beginning of his instructions, he teaches that there is bondage to the samsara is due to attachment to sense gratification, which is sourced through family, friendship, society, and the means of that sense gratification is fruitive activities. Uh, and although the goal is to be happy through sense gratification by engaging in fruitive activities, the outcome is bondage and suffering. And then Rishabdev explains that the means for freedom from this suffering. And in this chapter, 10th verse, Rishabdev explains the entire process. Uh, O my sons, you should accept a highly elevated Paramhamsa, a spiritually advanced spiritual master. In this way, you should place your faith and love in me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You should detest sense gratification and tolerate the duality of pleasure and pain, which are like the seasonal changes of summer and winter. Try to realize the miserable condition of the living entities who are miserable even in the higher planetary systems. Philosophically inquire about the truth. Then undergo all kinds of austerities and penance for the sake of devotional service. Give up the endeavor for sense enjoyment and engage in the service of the Lord. Listen to the discussions about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always associate with devotees. Chant about and glorify the Supreme Lord and look upon everyone equally on the spiritual platform. Give up enmity and subdue anger and lamentation. Abandon identifying the self with the body and the home and practice reading the revealed scriptures. Live in a secluded place and practice the process by which you can completely control your life here, mind, and senses. Have full faith in the revealed scriptures, the Vedic literatures, and always observe celibacy. Perform your prescribed duties and avoid unnecessary talks. Always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, acquire knowledge from the right source. Thus, practicing Bhakti Yoga, you will patiently and enthusiastically be elevated in knowledge and will be able to give up false ego. So, the summary is samsara, bondage, sense gratification, fruitive activities, result is suffering, and the solution is given in this text. Uh, and further instructions, basically, Rishabdev gives three things basically: associate with the devotees, depend entirely on the mercy of Krishna, and engage in the process of devotional service. So, these are the three main solutions, limbs of the solution, the three main ones. There are details, and as we heard, of reveal scriptures, association, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. Now, that's the overall solution to the overall problem. So if you step two verses back, then what do we read? We find that devotional service is very dear to the Lord. Like yesterday's verse said, that devotional service is my heart. So when we hear that the process, the solution to the problem is devotional service, why is that? Because, as the Lord says, this is my heart. This is really close to my heart, and free from envy and personal agendas, humbly cooperate with the devotee, uh, and advance in this devotional service, which is the previous verse. I'm appointing your eldest brother as the emperor. He's completely, devotional service is my heart. He's completely situated in devotional service. Therefore, you cooperate with him, and that way you perfect your life, and rule the citizens. Uh, if you engage yourself in Bharat service, your service to him will be include my service, and you will rule the citizens automatically. So that's two steps backward. Now, in one way, a new section is beginning, subsection is beginning in the flow of these verses. So verse number 21 to 25, the Brahmanas are designated as the best of the human beings. So in the present verse, there's the list of living entities, who is where, and we can see that it is a gradation based on the modes and what people can do based on those modes. And finally, it comes to the demigods. Of the demigods, Indra, from higher than Indra are the rishis, who are on the higher planets, and higher than them is Lord Brahma. However, of best of Lord Brahma's sons is Lord Shiva. And then the Lord says, since Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is still considered superior in that relationship of father-son. But Brahma is also subordinate to me, the Supreme Lord. And because I am inclined to the Brahmanas are the best of all. So, and in the preceding verses from here, the Lord Rishabdev will now explain what are the qualities of the Brahmanas. How do you identify a Brahmana? What are their qualities by which they function, and how do they? What is their purpose? So the Brahmanas are superior because of their purity of body. um, I noted something of body, mind, intelligence, actions, dealings with others, and purpose. So these are the things that would come out in the preceding five verses, of how the Brahmanas are superior. The qualities of Brahmanas will be enlisted. Basically, Brahmanas are detached from sense gratification, and they are attached to Vedic knowledge, which culminates in devotional service. So now coming to today's verse 21 and 22, although it's pretty loaded purport, there is a lot in here. Uh, how the Brahmanas are to be worshipped. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to, yes, yes. So uh, there is a gradation of how those qualities are developed. Even on the higher planets, the Brahmanas reside. Japa, Tapas, Mahar, Satya Lokas. So all of them are also having these qualities. But what I understand, Jai Shri Nikai Sachinandan Bhagwan ki Jai, that what the point here is, the context in which Lord Rishabdev is saying these words is that, look, I am the Supreme Lord, and I worship and follow the Brahmanas. So therefore, now that I am appointing your eldest brother as the emperor and going away, you, dear eldest son, and all of you as well, please function under the Brahmanas. Do not act independently, because the context is Varanashrama system. So, uh, therefore, the Lord is saying that I'm the Supreme Lord, even I worship and adore the Brahmanas, and I, follow them. So you also do that. It is not necessarily a comparison. You know, yeah, Prabhupada explains that in the purport. Prabhupada says of the evolutionary system. Where is it? Yes, here. From the evolutionary point of view, perfection is reached when the living entity attains the platform of a Brahmana. And Brahmana is celebrated because they are situated in Sattva Guna. Why is the Brahmana why the boy is being instructed, the princes are being instructed that you follow the Brahmanas? Because, my dear sons, you are Kshatriyas. You have Rajas mixed with Sattva, whereas the Brahmanas are pure Sattva. You know, so the gradation is on account of the modes, and the superior should instruct the inferior. So in that context, because Prabhupada also says here, why the list? Because from the evolutionary point of this whole list, the perfection is reached when the living entity attains the platform of a Brahmana. Because Sattva Guna, you come to the point of Sattva Guna, you function in Sattva Guna. That is the most beneficial for you and for others around you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, how I look at it is, I've written in my notes as well, that the demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who have been enlisted here, they are the heads of operations. Whereas the Brahmanas, who are living in this world amongst us, are the heads of learning and development of the jiva. So, from that point of view of its functional utility, the Brahmanas are most accessible to ignorant jivas. The demigods, they are superior. The Brahmanas have, you know, yep, yeah, exactly. We can't approach them. We can't even see them. Yeah, Kinnaras. Yes, because they have much larger degree of demons. Yes, Kinnaras. Yes, yes, yes. And then again, it is all based on what they can do. The modes, of course, the whole functioning is based on the modes. Not necessarily the sattva part alone, but with what they can do. The kinnaras are more or less into singing. Yes, I mean, but if you look at it from that point of view, then we have a problem, because superior to animals are human beings, and superior to human beings are ghosts, because they have no material bodies. Yes, yes, yes. Otherwise, if the asuras were just pure tamasic and they had no sattva, they will not be able to, uh, you know, be at the same. They are at the same at the platform of demigods. They are like the anti hero. You know, anti. This the anti hero. They are as good as the hero. They're capable. They have everything, but they don't follow the Supreme Lord. They don't surrender to the Supreme Lord. The demigods are willing to surrender to the Supreme Lord, and that's all the context of the eighth canto. But yeah, here it is based, of course, on modes, and in my reading of it, it's basically modes and what they can do. What's the functional utility? Because the context of this conversation is, you have to operate now. I'm going to retire. Here is your brother as the emperor, and you have to run the society, the world. So, you know, be under the guidance of those who are the most pure. And within this world, the most pure are the Brahmanas. And therefore, the Lord says, I am inclined to the Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas are best of all, because they are doing the work of the Lord in this world by spreading the knowledge of the scripture, living it as the role models of that knowledge, and helping people come to the platform of devotional service. The conclusion of the purport is that devotees are higher than the Brahmanas, which is the conclusion of the Bhagavatam and all Vedic scriptures actually. So I saw that there are four parts to the purport. The first purport basic theme is that the Brahmanas are the guides of the state executive body. In this verse, the Brahmanas are given a position superior to that of the Supreme Lord. The idea is that the government should be conducted under the guidance of the Brahmanas. Uh, Although Rishabdev recommended his eldest son Bharata as the emperor of the earth, he still had to follow the instructions of the Brahmanas in order to govern the world perfectly. So this is clearly the Varanashrama system, you know, where the king is running the society, but not independently under the guidance of qualified Brahmanas. So that is the theme of the first paragraph of the purport, and we can see Prabhupada says that because of the absence of qualified Brahmanas guiding the executive body, the society is in a mess. And Prabhupada says, we discussed that as well. I had it as a part of. And what you had mentioned in one of our conversations many weeks ago, you said that what is your alternative? We were debating about how this is a farce, democracy is a farce because people are not qualified to understand what kind of executive body should be leading the society, should be leading them. And then you said, then what's your alternative? You kind of, you know, pulled the rug out of my feet. Yeah, and that's what you had proposed, that democracy is not bad, but the people have to be given spiritual knowledge. They have to be developed in Krishna consciousness. Then this is a very good system actually of cooperating with each other for the higher goal. And that's exactly what Prabhupada says here. Exactly the same thing. The mass of people should be educated in Krishna consciousness so that according to the democratic process, they can select first class devotees like Bharat Maharaj to head the government, present day. you know but how do you actually qualified leader, how do you choose one? Where does the qualified leader come from? It doesn't drop, it's not a download from the internet. It comes from the same mass of people. And how is that actually created, that leader, that qualified leader? um, the mass of the people should be educated in Krishna consciousness, widespread propagation of the Krishna conscious knowledge system, so that according to the democratic process, they can select a first class devotee like Bharat Maharaj to head the government. If the head of the state is headed by a qualified Brahmanas, everything will be completely perfect. So we are not into any utopian idea. We are neither nihilists that nothing can be done. It's a thankless, very difficult uphill task, but there is no alternative. We have to work ourselves, we have to spend all our energy in spreading the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. And without that, we cannot really help the society. We are busy simply helping ourselves. This world is rotten, let's chant Hare Krishna and go back home. Which is good, which is recommended, but as followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is not our individual mission. That should not be our individual mission, because then we are a little mukti vadi inclinations have crept in. So that's the theme of the first paragraph of the purport. The second paragraph, very interesting. The next two paragraphs are so interesting because they talk about evolution. So the second paragraph is the evolutionary development of the soul from the lower to the higher species of life. Basically, the journey of the soul from tamaguna to sattvaguna. And yes, yeah, that's the interesting point of what Prabhupada means when Prabhupada says here, mm, the material. Yes, yes, yes. The modern theory, in this verse, the evolutionary process is indirectly mentioned. The one, and further, let me read further first. The modern theory that life evolves from matter, which is Darwinism, right? Darwinian evolution. The modern theory that life evolves from matter is to some extent supported in this verse because it is bhuteshu viruddhyah. That is, the living entities evolve from vegetables, grass, plants, and trees, which are superior to dull matter. In other words, matter also has the potency to manifest living entities in the form of vegetables. This is perplexing. Hmm. How do you understand when you read this sentence? In this verse, the evolutionary process is indirectly mentioned. The modern theory that life evolves from matter. We're not talking about the evolution of the subtle body here. The sentence, please listen to the sentence. Please listen to the sentence. I will read it again. The modern theory that life evolves from matter is to some extent supported in this verse. How do you understand that? Mhm. It's an amalgamation of many things. Yeah. Mm. Embodied. That's why it's called embodied soul. Hmm. So one who does not fully know the bigger context in which Prabhupada is saying this may read it. Yes, it may be the misconception. But listen to what Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, the three modes of material nature, text number 4. Sarva yoneshu kaunteya murtaya sambhavanti yah tasam brahma mahadyoni aham bija pradapita. The purport of this verse completely seals the deal. Translation: it should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in the material nature. Let's read this sentence. The modern theory that life evolves from matter is to some extent supported in this verse. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in the material nature. And that I am the seed giving father. Purport, very short purport, but very punchy, very clear. In this verse, it is clearly explained. This is the purport to chapter 14, text number 4. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly explained that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original father of all living entities. The living entities, to your point, the living entities are a combination of material nature and spiritual nature. Such living entities are seen not only on this planet, but on every planet, even on the highest where Brahma is situated. Everywhere there are living entities. Within the earth, there are living entities, even within water and within fire. And now, listen to this. All these appearances are due to the mother, material nature, and Krishna's seed giving process. The purport is that the material world is impregnated with living entities who come out in various forms at the time of creation according to their past deeds. So this really resolves it when Prabhupada explains that the living entities are the combination of material nature and spiritual nature. And further, actually, Prabhupada actually, fourth canto, what is that? Fourth canto, yes. I actually got that verse, because superlative explanation. Where is it? That is a very powerful thing to read. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 4, chapter number 24, verse number 73. This is an extract from the purport. As stated in the Brahma Vaivata Puran, there is gradual evolutionary process, but it is not the body that is evolving. It is not the body that is evolving. Just all the bodily forms are already there. It is the spiritual entity or the spiritual spark within the body that is being promoted by the laws of nature under the supervision of superior authority. We can understand from this verse that from the very beginning of creation, different varieties of living entities were existing. It is not that some of them have become extinct Everything is there. It is due to our lack of knowledge that we cannot see things in their proper perspective. So, uh, what the key point why I selected this was, please, please. The design of the different bodies are already there. Yeah. The soul occupies different designs depending on how you get it promoted. Exactly. And that's the point of this verse. That there are all these species of life. There are non-moving entities, vegetables, plants, worms, snakes, and then there are the moving entities. And there are gradations in the moving entities. The blueprint of all of these is available. It is according to the qualification that the soul is designated a particular body. It is not that through the body the living entity is appearing. When Prabhupada says the evolution of the soul, he means the travel of the soul from the lower to the higher. And then what Prabhupada says here is where Prabhupada said that the Brahmana is the qualified, the highest. Uh, where did I just read that? No? From the evolutionary point of view, perfection is reached when the living entity attains the platform of a Brahmana, which means the highest species available within the material world in the mode of goodness. So we're starting from non-moving plant, complete tamas, rocks and stones and plants. Yeah. So that's the point here. So that's the point of these two paragraphs. Very powerful paragraphs actually. And then third paragraph is obviously the further evolving of evolution of the soul, and the soul's highest platform in this world is reached when the living entity attains the platform of Brahmana, or one when reaches the species of Sattva-guna. That's my own note. One, a Brahmana is worship of the supreme, and then what does the Brahmana do? When you're in Sattva-guna, a Brahmana is a worshiper of the supreme Brahman. The Supreme Brahman worships the Brahmanas. In other words, the devotee is subordinate to the Supreme Lord, and the Lord is inclined to see the satisfaction of his devotees. A Brahman is called Dvijadeva, and the Lord is called Dvijadeva Deva, Lord of the Brahmanas. And then in the final paragraph, we have uh, the rare position of a devotee is explained in the last verse. So Brahmanas have been explained, the gradual evolution from the non-moving to the moving to the most developed human being, uh, more developed than anybody else because of the purity and sattva. And in the coming verses, the purity of their body, the purity of their mind, the purity of their purpose, the purity of their dealings, all is going to be explained. But here Prabhupada says that Brahmanas, are they highest? Someone is even higher than them. And who is them? The devotee. And why is that? Because the purity of the devotee is achieved through devotional service, bhakti. And that bhakti is so powerful that Krishna, Supreme Lord, is willing to be subservient to the bhakta. This point of the Brahmanas are the best. The Lord has said this many times in the Bhagavatam. Mm. And the material dimension, he has reached the highest Brahman, mode of goodness. Exactly. But the dimension of faith, the Vaishnava are superior to the Brahman. Mm. So both on the material platform are in the mode of goodness. But there's another dimension that is added, the dimension of faith. And there, the Vaishnava stands superior to the Brahman. Mm. And then that based on that faith, 647, yes, the last verse of the 6th chapter. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddha van bhajate shraddha bhajate, because without that's the context here. Nothing is passive. It's not just a state. It's how you are executing yourself. So shraddhavan bhajate yoma tame yukta samem tamomata. He is the highest. In my opinion, that guy is the highest. Why? Because he has deep faith and he engages in that faith into action. Where the Brahmana gets satisfied, you know, and that's the whole context of the Kanishtadikari, Madhyamadikari, and Uttamadikari. Their faith in Krishna, which leads to their surrender to Krishna. Their knowledge of Krishna is increasing. So when the Kanishta, he, like Kapil Dev explains in the 25th chapter of the third canto, the Kanishta is worried about the deity and himself, my devotional service and my Lord. He's unable to see that the Lord is more pleased when you serve his devotees. So that's Kanishta. The Madhyama is more worried about the process of devotional service and everybody around. And the Uttama, because of his very advanced vision, he sees himself as the most lowest, and he sees, I can't preach to anyone. They are all the lovers of Krishna. They all belong to him, you know. So the connection of Krishna, of everyone with Krishna, the vision is so developed that he feels that I am the only unqualified person, therefore I should just zip my mouth and stay quiet because they are all they belong to Krishna. He's able to see that relationship in a very, very developed way. Therefore, the Uttama comes down to Madhyama because otherwise he will not be able to preach. And it is the Madhyama who makes the distinction. This one is Kanishta, this one is developing towards a Madhyama, and that one's an Uttama. So, yeah, so the evolution, we've discussed that, and then we discussed the blueprints are always there. It's not the kind of Darwinian evolution that is being discussed here, but it's the gradual development of the jiva from lower to higher species. Not that one body is changing into another body, that kind of evolution. Um, so this is just an enlisting uh, of the different species. So then, the same thing with the planets as well. Bhur bhuva swaha, our lower planets where we are, and higher planets, and we can see they are also based on the gunas, right? The lower planetary systems are in darkness and ignorance, and then we are there in rajas. In the higher planetary system where the devas are in sattva, and that's increasing in the higher planets, the mahar, tapas, satyalokas. So like that. uh, the higher than the demigods are the rishis, the manas putras of Brahmaji, like what is mentioned here, and higher still is Mahadev, because if you look at it technically, Mahadev is, because he's coming from Lord Sadashiva, Rudra, the crying sun, not the Sadashiva, not the Shambhu, but Rudra. However, uh, from a relationship point of view, he is subordinate to Lord Brahma. But most, usually, Lord Shiva is Vishnu Tattva. Therefore, he is considered superior because Lord Brahma usually is Jiva Tattva. It's only in the case when such a Jiva is not available that the Lord himself comes as Brahma. But that's how Lord Shiva is superior, because usually it's Vishnu Tattva, Vishnu Amsha, Jiva Amsha, superior and inferior. And Okay, so then the question is, the Brahmanas are superior, but we just said that Vaishnavas are the superior most. Why are the Vaishnavas the most superior? Because they're doing the work of the Lord in this world. The demigods are the greatest. Adi Guru Brahmadev, he's our uh, Sampradaya Acharya. So we are his representatives, and we are doing the work of the Lord here. It's the most difficult task to change someone's heart who's willfully walked away. I don't want this guy. I don't want anything to do with him. I'm gonna have my own party, you know. And we are occupied with our own party and music and food. For someone to come here and tell us, leave this fun, come back to where you belong. Well, what are you talking about? I'm having fun here. To change someone's heart is the most difficult process. You may be able to convince them intellectually, but to change someone's heart is the most difficult task. And that's why the Vaishnava is the dearmost to the Lord. Because what the Lord wants for all the jivas of the material world, that plan is being executed by the Vaishnavas. Um, so, in summary, Lord Rishabdev is glorifying Brahmanas in support of the Varnashrama system. But we hear that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually rejects the Varnashrama system. He says, Naham Vipro Napcha Narapati, you know. Gopi Bhartarupada Kamalyo Dasa Dasa Anudas, which is a position of a Vaishnava. So there is the functional utility of the Varnashrama system to run the material world in a most productive way, in a most less disturbing way. Ultimately, if you follow that, you have the greatest possibility of taking up to the transcendental process. In the absence of that, there's just no chance. We are struggling so hard to spread Krishna consciousness because Rajas and Tamas are so prominent. So Varnashrama will supply the Sattva platform, the Sattva environment, for through which people have the stability, calm, steady mind to what Prabhupada in the 10th verse is that inquire philosophically. In the 10th verse, it is mentioned there when the process is being summarized. Philosophically inquire about the truth is one quality there. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he rejected the Varnashrama system, and he promotes devotional service. Gopi Bhartarupada Kamalyor Dasa Dasa and Das. So the Vaishnava are higher than the Brahmana because of that. Because the Vaishnava is beyond the mode of material nature. The Brahmana is in Sattva Guna, the Vaishnavas go beyond the. And Bhagavad Gita also says that. 14th chapter, na? Mam cha yo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. Mam cha yo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. Saguna samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. They go beyond the three modes, even beyond Sattva Guna, because by engagement of avyabhicharena bhakti. Avyabhichara. It's a very interesting word actually. Vyabhichar, when you give the initiation vows, in Sanskrit, the word is vyabhichar, for illicit connections. So, what Krishna is saying, avyabhicharena, not a little bit with him, a little bit with that, some, behind the carpet, behind the curtain, something that. No, pure, not adulterated is the word. Adultery is vyabhichar. Unadulterated devotional service. Pure, only Krishna. Not mixed with karma and jnana. Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti. I think it's 426 or something. So that's the strategy Rishabdev is employing, that he's glorifying the Varnashrama system, and the highest in the Varnashrama system are the Brahmanas. Therefore, my dear sons, don't operate independently. You're very powerful, you're very intelligent, you're very cultured, but don't ever make the mistake that you can operate. I can do it at my own. I know. I've read the Shastra, I know. Don't make that mistake. Function under the guidance of the Brahmanas. Because if you do that, the society will also do that. There will not be chaos in the society. So, Vaishnavas are obviously the most favorite, the dearest of the Lord. And in the Bhagavatam second canto, Sukadev Goswami glorifies the Vaishnavas in context of all these lower species when he sings Kirat Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhir Shumbhaya Vanakashadaya Ye Anya Chapapaya Dupashaya Ashraya Shuddhyanti Tajmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. When I read that verse, it gave me so much hope. Because he says, Kirat Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhir Shumbha Yavana Kasha Adaya. So he's enlisting the sinful species of human society. Kirat. Prabhupada gives very wonderful purport of who is the Kirat, who is the Pulind, Pulkasha, the Germans, the Siberians, the Mongolians. The Yavans are there. Kirat Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhir Shumbha Yavana. Yavana is referring to our friends from the Middle East. Yavana and Kasha. Prabhupada writes Kasha are the Mongolian or people of Chinese descent who do not have facial hair. It's explained in the Puranas. Each one of it is very detailed explained. Ye anya cha papa yadupashayas. These and other sinful species of human society. Ye anya cha papa yadupashaya ashraya shuddhyanti. Even they can become the most perfect devotees. How? Prabha Vishnu, by associating with the pure devotees of the Lord. That is his power. 4:2-4:18. And the purport is so interesting. 2:4:18. Okay. Kiratahunandra Pulinda Pulkasha. Okay, translation. Kirat, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhir, Shumbha, Yavan, members of the Khasa race, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified. They can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Due to His, the Lord, being the supreme power, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto Him, the Supreme Lord. And in this purport, Prabhupada, it's a very long purport, but it's an amazing purport where the Vaishnava um, is explained that according to the devotional system, uh, no one is disqualified. Here we are talking about the gradation. One is higher and one is lower. In today's society, that's a point of contention. No, no, they say everyone is equal. Even gender is a social construct. We are actually all the same person. You know, what you want to do, I want to do. What makes happy, what makes you happy makes me happy. So we are not very different. And when they listen to a list like this of, lower to higher, it's like, no, 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 everything is equal. But that's a false notion, because we've discussed this before. However, the system of bhakti says everyone can come to the highest. It does not matter who you are. By the association of the pure devotees, Prabha Vishnavenam. That's the mercy of the Lord. You know, Ye anyacha papa yadupashaya ashaya shuddhanti. Pure. We are just talking about the gradation from tamo guna to sattva guna, tamo rajas sattva. Here, by the association of that devotees, shuddhanti tasmai prabhavishnave namaha. Even the most sinful, addicted to the most dirty habits, can become completely pure and come to that highest level beyond the Brahmana to the platform of a Vaishnava by association of the pure devotees. So I will close here. I'll see corrections or any questions or any comments. The summary of this verse, the today's verse, um, the the verse today, basically the Lord is saying that the Brahmanas are the best of all the species of life. It is the Brahmanas who are the best, and therefore you follow you rule under the guidance of the Brahmanas. That's why the Lord, for this specific purpose, will enlist the qualities of the Brahmanas in the up till verse number 25. And there, Srila Prabhupada would very heavily emphasize that it is not by caste or birth that you become a Brahmana. It is only by guna and karma. Because of the caste um, uh, claim, the whole thing becomes distorted. Thank you. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Jagat Gopati Pavan Srila Prabhupada ki. 30, 36, I think. 35. After this section, the Brahmanas, then the renunciation of Rishabdev at the palace will begin, and then his abandonment of the palace. No, no, subsequent chapter. But within this chapter, he would, start acting like a madman, but within the confines of the palace. And the next chapter, he leaves, and then his activities are explained, and the birth of Jainism is then explained.